All right, ladies and gentlemen, as we go back to our observational trees, we are now going to take them the next step and we are going to abstract them. Now, abstract is one of those words that we use incorrectly a lot of the time. When we're talking about abstraction in artwork, what it really is the simplification of an artwork. So simplifying something, bringing it down to its basics, slowly getting rid of elements. And when abstraction is taken to extreme, it becomes nothing but shape and line and color. So what we are going to do is we're just going to take our trees kind of on the path of abstraction, but we're not going to abstract them completely. We still want them to look like trees. So what we're going to look at is kind of over the years how different groups of artists have either slightly or more radically abstracted trees. So we're going to start kind of with the older piece first, and this is a piece from Japan, from a Japanese scroll work. You will see that it's still mostly realistic, but you can see that they started doing some of that elimination. That you're not seeing every leaf, you're not seeing every petal. They're choosing which branches to draw and which ones not to draw. This piece by Wolf Kahn is a little different. You can see that the leaves have become just these shapes. The branches, they're only doing the bigger ones. They're not drawing any of the littler ones or any of the ones that kind of fall outside. So they're kind of limiting it down to bigger or simpler pieces. You can see here with Monet, he's not drawing once again, the leaves are becoming just kind of this shape of green, but you're seeing some of those branches. You're not seeing all of them. You're not seeing all the little branches that are coming off here. You're seeing those big, major structural areas. This is a piece by Van Gogh. You can see that he's kind of rounding these trees a little bit more. Like, think about all those trees we looked at outside. None of their trunks were really round like this. They were kind of a little bit more straight. So he's really abstracting them by making them have these kind of curves. Now, these are olive trees, and they are a little shorter, and they do have kind of more of a curvy trunk, but even their trunk is not this round and curvy. This is George Braque, and you can see he's part of a movement that's really started abstracting and breaking things into basic shapes. So you see that these trunks and these branches just became these kind of blocky things. So kind of the opposite of Van Gogh here, who is getting very, very round and soft. These are kind of the other way. You could make your trees more hard and straight. Now, Mondrian did a really cool series of trees, and we're going to look at two parts of this series. This is where it is still mostly realistic. You can really tell that it's a tree. You can see that he got some of the branches, but as he got out to those outer branches, he started doing less and less, and really there's no leaves here. So that he's really just looking at that structure of the tree. And this is another piece by the same artist in that same series. But see how he took the same kind of branches and the crisscrossing of the branches and really looking at these spaces between the branches, which we're going to talk about when we get to our next step. After abstracting our trees, we're really going to talk about the spaces here that are created between the branches. So for this piece, he just made those branches into lines so that those shapes between the branches become even more important. This is a piece by Natasha Westcott, and you can see, has these kind of rounded, soft, round, rolly kind of branches. You notice when we looked outside, none of the trees look like this. She simplified the leaves into these kind of circular shapes too. But a root can sometimes look like this, but the branches don't curl that much. They do break kind of and V out like these are doing, but the branches aren't curving back on themselves. So that's the way she's abstracting it. Gustav Klimt did a very similar thing. You can see those V's. These two, Natasha Westcott was obviously inspired by him. His piece was a little bit older. But see how you're seeing, just like that structure we saw outside, those branches are breaking off of each other, but then they become these kind of circles. Once again, it's breaking this up into those spaces between the branches. All right, so those are the abstracted trees. We're now going to go back to your observational worksheet and finish that section. So continue watching this video for how to finish your abstracted trees. All right, ladies and gentlemen, so what we are going to do next, now that we've looked at some of those abstracted trees, is we are going to abstract one branch for each tree type. So you're going to come up with 3 different kind of semi-abstracted versions of some tree branches to get your brains kind of thinking about how you might abstract your tree in your final. So if I take something like this, I might look at that and say, well, it's already kind of bending, so maybe I just make it even more bendy. Maybe I make it bendy like that, and I bend them even more. Kind of take that inspiration from Klimt maybe, and maybe even pull these and make them a little bit more bendy. Maybe pull one off here. So I've kind of got that bendiness going on. And then this one's very straight, so maybe I think more like that Mondrian or that Klimt, and I just make them very boxy. So I make it even more boxy, like that, maybe. And then I think about that third one, and that fruit tree that I drew was very twisty, so maybe I make it even more twisty. So kind of take that inspiration from that Van Gogh one and have that branch, and then this guy here comes off it, and this guy here comes off it, and kind of looks kind of like a crab claw, maybe even. Maybe this guy here comes off it. Bring this up a little bit more. So just kind of play around with the shapes until you get some things that you can kind of look with and move with when you get to your final. So you're going to abstract your trees. This shouldn't take you very long. Once you've done this, you will get all of your previous worksheets signed off, and then you will move on to your thumbnail sketches.